Call from the FLAC. So I'm glad you guys came back, most of you anyway. So that's good. You want to hear how I make people cry, right? So when Jeff Lean, who's the investigations editor at the Washington Post, came to me and said that he had this genius idea. Really, I thought it was genius that he wanted to do a series on guns. He asked me to find out. Remember, I talked earlier about it, about how many police officers were killed in the U.S. over a 10-year period, but more importantly, to trace the guns that were used to kill them, to find out where they came from, how they got them, which is the sheet that I gave you guys, the firearms trace data. That was the document that I collected to see where the guns came from and sort of how they made their way around the country and into the hands of killers. So his idea meant that besides obtaining documents and building a database of all the officers, which is what I did, I had to track down and interview hundreds of people, police chiefs and detectives and lawyers and relatives, but I wanted to take it to another level. This was a series that hadn't been done before. It ended up being 8 parts. I did 2, and then 3 of my colleagues each did 2. Does that add? Journalists aren't good at math. That's 8 parts, right? And so I wanted to take it to another level, something that really made this series, gave it that extra boost. And so I decided to try to get an interview with a cop killer. So I examined, thousands of pages of police reports, court records, and other documents. I found one case, more than one actually, but this one really interested me, probably because the young man was from Chicago. And he was 19, and he had been convicted of killing an Indiana State Trooper just before dawn one December. The man's name was Daryl Jeter, and he was on probation for a drug conviction when he stole a car and decided to skip over the state lines to go visit some young girl basically in the middle of the night. I'm still trying to figure out where her mother was at the time, but okay. So while he was on the highway, while he was on the expressway going to Gary, Indiana, one of the tires on his car blew, on his stolen car blew. And so he was forced off the road, and there was a trucker who saw him and thought he was a motorist in distress and called 911. And that's when chaos erupted. The trooper who responded, his name was Scott Patrick, he heard the call, went to the scene. When Jeter saw Patrick, he thought that Patrick somehow knew he was on parole and was across state lines and was going to arrest him, and then he would go back to jail. So Jeter panicked. And Patrick approached him, and they exchanged words, and Jeter shot him and tried to then commandeer an 18-wheeler that was nearby. Patrick died at the hospital that night. His wife was 3 months pregnant with their first child. So I read all the transcripts. I FOIA'd the transcripts from the trial and thought it was fascinating. It was absolutely fascinating. Jeter was found guilty, was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. He was 19. And during his trial, though, he had never told authorities where he got the gun. And that was my job. I was determined to figure out where he got that gun that was used to kill Trooper Scott Patrick. So the question then became, would he talk to me? Why would he talk to me, right? He doesn't need to talk to me. I can't help him. So why would he talk to me? There was nothing in it for him. He has no chance for parole. So how could I convince him to talk? Somehow I had to connect with him. So what do you guys think? How did I get him to talk to me? Or did I get him to talk to me? What did I do?
You're from Chicago?
Okay.
Relate somehow?
Okay. Oh, you're close. Oh, you're like really warm. What did I do? In the back, huh?
Do you have a common acquaintance?
No, we didn't have a common acquaintance, but that's good. Now, I don't know anybody in prison. I'm going to have to dress differently or something. Okay. I think I got boys in prison. Mom was a drug addict. Dad was a drug addict. Grandma raised him. Apparently didn't do such a great job. He was basically left to raise himself on the streets. He grew up in Robert Taylor Housing Project in Chicago, one of the roughest in the city. What do you think I did?
Did you get any information? Something from him?
Not at first,
Okay.
because I had to get to him,
Right.
right? So how could I get to him?
Bringing him something he likes.
Huh?
Bringing him something he likes.
Bring this up. Well, I gotta convince him to talk to me though. I can't just walk up. He's in this prison. I can't just go up and say, "Hey, I'm here to see Daryl today. You know, I got cookies." No. Sore in the back.
Did you
Okay.
write him and
I wrote him a letter. I wrote him a letter, right? Because I can't call him. I can't show up, even though genius idea to show up with baked goods. I wrote him a letter, right? Because I had to, and then, like you said, I had to appeal to him some kind of way. What did I say to him that convinced him, that persuaded him to sit down and talk to me? What was it I
You
said?
have a son? Oh, never mind.
Hmm?
Take it back. Nothing.
You actually were right there on it earlier.
Oh,
What?
you're from the same area?
I too, this is what I said to him, I too am from the south side of Chicago. What does that say to him?
Yeah, you know the street, well, not street, but you know.
Commonality there, yeah. Did you ever, oh no, just stretching.
you know what that life and life is like in that neighborhood?
I kind of don't, but I do. But yeah, I really have to start dressing better. You think I got friends in the big house? You think I grew up in the projects? Okay, I'm gonna have to. There's something about this is just not. It's a sharp, but they're at an angle. It said to him, "You and I cut from the same cloth. I am a person of color like you. South side of Chicago. You and me. We're like this, right?" And I waited. I really have to start dressing better.